Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts 358 for 2 days cutscene commentary. So, stuff's happening. Everyone's sort of questioning why they need to get hearts, but they'll know that why they need them when they have them.
Looks like every nobody in
it's all a bit weird.
Is good at different things.
But I suppose that is one of those things, that whole analysis of
even nobody's without hearts.
Just because we don't all have
how do you know
doesn't mean that we're all
what
exactly
it is to
the
have
same.
something if you've never
We
had
each have
it?
memories of our pasts.
It's that whole thing of them questioning friendship
You remember your
and
past.
memories and all that.
That's
And
one
yeah,
of the things that makes
it's
each member
maybe
of the
not the
organization
most
special.
exciting
We were as humans.
of conversation topics, but
I don't.
philosophically, it is
Well, maybe
quite
that right there
interesting.
is what makes you guys the most unique in the
And
organization.
it's
What
something
were
that
you
I don't
like
think I
before you
necessarily
were nobody?
appreciated back when I first played Days.
Huh?
Because, I mean, I did quite like Days at the time. I think it did end up being my favourite game that year, which is maybe slightly damning for
I remember stuff.
the games of 2009.
Really?
But
It's just baggage, you know.
I think it's because I just did enjoy it, and I did really enjoy the
I
story.
can't remember anything, not even from when I was
But
born and nobody.
looking back at it now,
All you
these sorts
did
of
was stare into
conversations
space.
are
Oh,
just, they are
thanks.
fascinating. And
You know, I don't remember much either.
it's that whole
You two
thing
sure have
of
a lot in common.
just philosophy in general, because while it might not necessarily lead anywhere, just thinking about it
What
can
kind of
lead
guy
you
I
to
was
some
before.
quite profound conclusions, and those can sometimes help in some way or another. You never know. But yes, one thing I will say is that I am quite grateful in terms of sort of how I've ended up splitting up the parts, because while they are all relatively long from what I recall, there aren't a huge number of them. And that first one that we had the other day,
You can have this
that was
back.
by far the longest that I'm going to have to
Remember
sit through.
anything?
All the others are sort of hitting
no.
about the 30-minute mark,
Let me try
upwards to about 35. And obviously that's just because I want to make sure I've crammed everything in as neatly as possible. It's not going to be slightly as... it's going to be a little bit more crazy for when we eventually do Recoded, because there are two very long parts in that
again.
one.
Alexis, it worked.
I can't wait to tell
But
Axel
it's
this.
because
Let's go.
getting everything to
Yeah.
fit in together, that's kind of important. And then obviously when Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key
Axel,
back cover,
whoa,
whatever the
where'd you
frickin'
come
hell
from?
it's called, that's just like a full hour,
How
so
was your mission?
might as well just do that as one go.
You know, I sure wish the Heartless would hold still once in a while. I fell right on my
But
butt chasing them around.
it sounds
thought
kind
you
of
said you
weird
were tough.
hearing Axel, aka Quentin
Yeah,
say,
whatever. That's
but
got nothing to
don't
do
know.
with it. So, how
It
did the
does
kitten go?
it doesn't sit right in Axel's mouth, but there we go.
Ta-da!
Oh, it's cute.
Roxas, Axel, thank you.
I didn't do anything.
You made it possible for the two of us to go on a mission together.
If it weren't for you, Shion might never have remembered how to use the Keyblade.
So thanks, Axel.
How about sea salt ice cream then?
Huh?
Buy me one and we'll call it even.
You got it. I'll be right back.
I hope we can always be just like this forever.
Me too.
What's that all about?
I just want these days to last forever. Hanging out, the ice cream, the sunsets.
Well, nothing lasts forever, you know. Least of all for a bunch of nobodies like us. But it's okay if
things change and we can't meet up here.
Huh?
As long as we keep each other in our thoughts, none of us will ever have to be apart. Got it memorized?
Wow, that was so not you.
Hey!
Oh, it's all adorable. Oh, there's Ant Lion. That's a boss. That's definitely a boss. So, yes, you do spend a lot of the game doing missions and a lot of the cutscenes at the clock tower. And it's one of those things where, yeah, it feels okay to sort of keep going back there, but it does develop quite a bit of a grind sometimes. You can feel like you're just doing the same thing again and again and again and again and not making any progress. You are, but it can feel like you're not, and that can make it a bit of a slog. But, oh, important betrayal stuff happening.
Rat on my friends to you?
Ugh, Syak's being a dirty bye? Dirty bastard man. Guy, whatever, I don't really know at this point, but hey.
Delivering that message to me.
We also need you to go back to Castle Oblivion soon.
Says Lord Xemnas.
That castle hasn't given up all its secrets. One, even he doesn't know of its whereabouts.
Even he doesn't know. You mean the chamber, right? We turned that place inside out. If it's there, we're not gonna find it just by looking.
Then let me give you another reason. Shion comes from the castle to which Namine can be traced. The place where both Namine and Shion were born. It's practically calling out for you.
Whatever. As far as the castle goes, you're the one who really wants to go there. By finding the room that Xemnas is searching for, you would find out everything about Xemnas' true agenda, am I right?
The Chamber of Repose as well as the Chamber of Waking. Xemnas has an agenda that he hasn't told to anybody. And we are bound to find some clues in the Chamber of Waking. And once we obtain those clues, we'll have the upper hand for our own objectives.
I knew the time would come when Vexen and Zexion got in your way. That's why I took the initiative and cleared the way to the top for you. I can handle all the dirty work. You go all the way to the top.
You will be going on a solo mission to Castle Oblivion. Expect the orders soon.
Castle Oblivion. Namine and Shion.
Yes, all very mysterious, although obviously having played Birth by Sleep, we know what the Chamber of Awakening is all about. Chamber of Awakening, it's, I'm pretty sure where Ven's kept, and then I believe that the Chamber of Repose is... Actually, I can't remember what the Chamber of Repose is. It might be where Xemnas ended up storing Aqua's armor, I think, potentially. But
Roxas is
hey,
late
it's
today.
a little bit confusing sometimes with some of these things.
Zigbar isn't giving him too hard of a time.
Yeah, right? You know what, Axel?
Hmm?
When I sit here and talk with you guys, I get the strangest feeling that a long time ago, I used to watch the sunset with somebody else. It's the same when I watch the sea. Someplace by the sea, where I hear the sound of the waves, I get the feeling that I was talking with someone.
So you mean that you have memories of your past?
No, it's not quite like that. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Are these memories?
I wouldn't know either.
You have memories, don't you?
Yeah, sorta. Though it's not like they've ever really done me any good.
Roxas is like me. Neither one of us remembers much. I wonder if he and I had this much in common before we were nobodies.
Yeah, every time it turns up, I do just absolutely adore music. Pour la tristesse de Chillon. It's just so good. But yes, we've got some more stuff going on, more missions, a day off, which is quite nice, which I don't think really much happens during it, but it's nice. Anyway, since you know we're sort of still plodding along through the game, I'd say that actually probably 3 for 2 days and Recoded they are slight oddities in terms of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, in terms of the gameplay, because they are purely developed by hand, but Square Enix employees oversaw the process. That said, obviously it was directed by Tetsuya Nomura, as have all of the Kingdom Hearts games. In 2007, Nomura mentioned that he wanted to do a spin-off Kingdom Hearts game on a mobile platform and wanted it to play slightly differently from the other titles in the series. And then, later that year, at the Tokyo Game Show in 2007, 3 for 2 days, Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts Coded were shown off in a photo-prohibited theatre, so you weren't allowed to, you know, show them off. But obviously the news got out, and everyone was a bit like, "Ooh, this is interesting. 3 Kingdom Hearts games at once." Obviously they didn't all end up coming out as you would have expected. Kingdom Hearts Coded was an odd one because it was purely mobile, and obviously that was an era before smartphones were properly a thing. Obviously Birth by Sleep for the PSP, and then obviously Days for the DS. So you had 3 portable Kingdom Hearts games, all coming at once, all on different consoles. It was part of the point where I think people looked at the franchise and thought, I don't get this at all. Why you've got to buy all these different consoles in order to play them.
I'd forgotten all that.
And in a way, I sort of was frustrated by that as well, because while I think at the time I did have a DS, I didn't have a PSP. My dad did have a PSP, I think, or was getting one, or got one later down the line. So I was never quite sure I was ever going to be able to play Birth by Sleep.
You guys go somewhere without me?
But I knew I was going to be able to get Days, and then Code, it was just one of those things of just going, well, thanks for screwing me over, guys.
So I work hard, so I'm tired, okay?
Unlike me and Roxas,
And
maybe you're just out of
thankfully,
shape.
obviously with Birth by Sleep, because my dad had a PSP, I was able to, because I decorated my sister's room, she got me that as sort of payment for decorating her room.
Yeah.
And obviously I loved it. Days, obviously, I just
Oh yeah.
think I just
might
got,
not see you guys again for a while.
like, used my
They're
pocket
sending
money or
me
whatever
out
to get
on
it.
recon for
Honestly,
a few
cannot
days.
remember.
Where?
Can't
Yeah,
tell.
so it was obviously
What's up with
initially
that?
shown off 2007. New trailers and a playable demo was available at the 2008 Jump Festa, which was in December 2007, and it was also available at the
Dark Sea.
DK Epsilon 3713 Private Party in August 2008.
Kidding. I just gotta keep my mouth shut about it.
And that was when
Someday
sort of
we'll get on
Shion
my
was first
case.
shown off, and the
You know
multiplayer
how
demo
we
was
get.
available as well.
Yeah.
The DS was chosen
not
as
to
the system
bungle
before
everything all
design
at
work
once,
on the
huh?
game
Now, why
even
would we
began.
do
So
that?
basically, they looked at the
Well,
DS and thought,
considering
that's
your
the console that
track
we want to
record,
make this
I
on.
just can't count on you
Roxas was chosen because the staff thought that having a main character besides Sora would help introduce gamers to the series' first Nintendo DS title. Obviously, similar with PSP actually. Obviously, new characters, a way of introducing people into the series without putting in the lead character that everyone else knows and sort of
What
use
took
that as
you
a
so
through
long?
fair.
It's my
They also thought
vacation. I
that
can take all
Roxas's
the
role as a
time I
member of the
want.
organisation
Since
would
when
be a
do I have to
suitable
check in with
theme
you?
for the plot.
You're letting
Something that
yourself
was
get too attached
furthered
to
while
them.
they were developing
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 2.
Whatever you say.
Because obviously they wanted to focus on what influenced Roxas to leave the organisation,
Changed.
and that then led on to the creation of Shion's character. As I've said before, they did want to have gameplay similar to the previous KH titles, but the number of the buttons on the DS was a problem. So they kind of approximated. And I think they did a pretty good job, even if it wasn't perfect. Some of the DS's functions, like the stylus, weren't used because they wanted to retain that similar gameplay feeling, so really all the bottom screen was used for was certain cutscenes and how they were presented. It was primarily related to Sora's memories coming up on screen in certain moments, or other things like the map and those sorts of basic stuff. Which worked out, it was nice, simple, nothing too complicated.
Hey, Roxas.
Axel, you're back.
The other kind of big-ish
Yep, I just got
thing,
home.
I suppose, is that the game's logo uses warm colours as a
So,
reference to the sunset
hold
in
them up?
Twilight Town. Because
Yeah.
obviously the sunset's red,
Where's she
as
on?
we will hear again
She's
when
not
we
here
eventually reach day, I think it was 255.
She's usually here by now.
I think it's actually the only game in the franchise that's really had a significantly different colour
This isn't like her.
to any of the other games, because all of them have been sort of blues and silvers and stuff, apart from I suppose Coded and Recoded, which were yellow,
How could he?
but everything else has been sort of in that sort of bluey, greeny, silvery palette. But hey, the whole meaning behind the title, 358 Days Over 2,
I'm not
was
ashamed.
left completely unexplained by Tetsuya Nomura during the promotion of the game. Obviously, they just thought, oh, it's a big mystery. But as I think most people figured out, it was the 358 days of time spent in the organisation, and then the over two characters, which is, once you're playing the game, very clearly Roxas and Shion. So that's your title explained quite clearly. There was a whole thing. I'd say it's probably one of the more
Just give me
daftly
another
named
chance.
games in the series. Like, obviously Birth by
We can't
Sleep's a
afford
bit
to take
nuts,
any
as
more
is
chances
Code
on
and
you.
Dream Drop Distance
You were a
and
mistake we never should have made.
Unchained Key back cover and stuff, but they sort of they tie in more to the game because they're not numbers and fractions and all that jazz. People understand them a little bit more clearly. I think also the fact that 358 days over 2 or 358 over 2 days, the way it's written isn't presented perfectly.
Oh.
Because the way it is written
Where's
is
she on?
358 over 2
Haven't
days.
seen her today.
If they'd wanted it to be 358 days over
well.
2, then the kind of dividing line should have been under 358 days, and it should have had a 2 underneath, so that it's an actual mathematical equation.
Anything
but-
I couldn't bear to lose? What's that about?
Clearly, they're a
Well,
little bit
I met
nuts,
someone today who had something like that.
but
This thing was so important to him.
There
he
we
couldn't bear to
go.
lose it. And Zaldan said that was his weakness. Why don't I have anything like that?
It's because you don't have a heart.
I guess.
Brutal, Axel, just telling someone straight out you
But then
don't
again,
have a
it's not
heart. I mean, I know it's
I bet he'd get
accurate,
upset if he
but
took his
still.
Citadel away.
Huh. I think you have a point there. So you don't need a heart to have something that you can't bear to lose, then. If that's true, then I guess the closest thing that we nobodies have would be memories of our past. It's the memories that create the things that we don't want to lose.
Memories of the past. I don't remember my past.
Even though you might not remember the past, I'm sure you have things you don't want to lose.
Like what?
You've got memories since you joined us, right?
I don't know. I do. Don't I? I couldn't bear to lose my memories of you or Shion.
So then you really do have something that you can't bear to lose, right? Every one of us. Including us nobodies. We all have something that we want to hang on to.
It's scary.
You can't be scared without a heart.
If my friends... If you or Shion were to disappear... It's... scary to think of what it would be like without you guys.
Scared is not an emotion that can exist inside us.
Well... I am scared right now for sure.
Maybe it's just that you remember what it's like to be scared, you know? Somewhere deep inside your memories.
So yeah, it's just. I mean, yeah, this is sort of the issue that people come up with probably the most with Days. And obviously, I've already sort of mentioned it myself already, but it is just. You do missions, you go to the clock tower, you do missions, you go to the clock tower, you do missions, you go to the clock tower, you do missions, you go to the clock tower. And it does really just drag on, perhaps more than it
I wonder
probably should
where
do.
Axel is. Guess we got the work done a little too fast, huh?
Your face. Who are you really? And why do you have a Keyblade?
Tell me first, why you are dressed as one of us.
To make sure my best friend sleeps in peace. I don't know who you're supposed to be, but you can't fight fire with sparks. This Keyblade, it's a sham. Worthless.
My Keyblade is not a sham. What gives you the right to say that?
Find a new crowd. Trust me, those guys are bad news.
Why? You're the real sham.
Fair enough. You could say I am the biggest nobody of them all.
Shion? Shion! Something wrong?
Sorry. My mind's on other things. Roxas, do you ever think about why we're doing all of this?
What do you mean, why? So we can get hearts of our own, right?
But what do we need hearts for?
I don't know. But I think once we have hearts, we probably won't have to think about why we're doing all this. Or if we need hearts.
I'm not sure. I just wish I knew what I was doing here. I started having the strangest dreams.
Like nightmares?
I can never remember what they're about. I just wake up scared.
Zigbar said you and me were pretty special. Exceptional, he said.
Special? Isn't that just another way of saying that I'm a mistake?
You're not a mistake.
Well, you and I may both be exceptional, Roxas, but I don't think we're quite the same.
Shion.
Oh, this game does get quite sad in places. I suppose like this, where just like
Hey, Roxas.
friendships begin to shatter,
Shion
and
couldn't make it again today.
it's like, oh,
Actually,
you poor
You
souls.
just missed her.
Now, as we sort of head into this, what is effectively sort of the middle portion of the game, it is a little bit odd in that you do. It feels like you spend quite a large amount of time here where not much is happening. You're sort of treading water. You're just kind of constantly going on missions and just panning the days out. And this does happen for a surprisingly large number of days. I think it is around this portion of the game that it does start to drag a lot more, because you really do just have so many missions and so many days pass, and yeah, it's an odd one, because there is obviously that argument of you don't constantly want to be interrupted by cutscenes when you could, be playing the game, but there is a balance that some games struggle with more than others in terms of finding how many cutscenes you should be having, how spaced out they should be, how long those cutscenes should be. And I think that on the whole, Kingdom Hearts has been relatively decent in terms of getting its balance right, but it's definitely not perfect. And I would say that Days is a sort of prime example of that, because it simply it's very disjointed, and you do sometimes spend huge swathes of time when nothing is happening other than missions, and you're sort of wanting the plot to progress, but it doesn't, and it's a bit of a pain. I think they kind of screwed themselves over in saying that it needed to be 358 days, but you take what you can get, and it's sweet that obviously Roxas starts leaving shells for Shion, just like she left
that was
shells
uncalled
for
I told you.
him.
Proud of this.
It's sweet.
And I'm telling you that I have to know what's the deal with Shion. If there's something going on, just be straight with me for once, will ya?
Do you mean just like you are always honest with me?
Well, you got me there, I guess.
Shion has no right to be among our number.
What do you mean?
It's plain to see. I have nothing more to say.
God, Sykes is such an asshole. Really does suck.